Yeah, yeah. Hey, hey. Fuck wrong with you, boy? You know what time it is, nigga. Better watch how you step in. Yeah. But that was my niggas. Yeah. I'm in it, yo. Got my nigga Rawan with me. But that was my niggas, it'll be an honor. You know what I'm saying? Under commanding General, your honor. That for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Look, hey, straight off the top, I love all of my niggas. That shit ain't gon' stop till we on top and we ballin', my nigga. We be fly as fuck, you know them bitches be stalking my niggas. That shit'll never change and it's the same with all my niggas. City to city, I should be at home. That's what my ribs say. But bitch, I'm grown, I'm in these streets and closed caption. Niggas know we bout that action. If a nigga play with me, then my Hakim gon' let him have it. Hey, think you the shit, this truth the shit. Nigga play, I let that Ruger hit. Get on them tracks, they be like, who is this? I'm rude with it. Ain't got no manners, all them pussy niggas talk the shit. Y'all know they can't stand us, but we UPK, Louisiana, bitch, that's what I'm rippin'. And my niggas solid number, real ones in my section. If you wanna get down, put your boots on, start stepping. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood. I lay my life down right now for all my sisters and brothers because I love them. I see them dapping and hug them. It's amazing to see how well we adapt from the struggle. Born again from a life of sin, trapped in the gutter. My mind frame was to kill my own kind. Feeling inferior, waking up ready to die. Run with them killers, so it's just a matter of time. For I take your life or let you take mine. That's when I realized the slaves killing slaves while the white man live to get old. We in them graves, shit got me feeling played. I opened the Bible, went through them records, found out we was royalty, a nation to be respected. But in this world we rejected, we hated for our complex. Still fighting to get accepted. We hear the truth and reject it, but love is getting corrected. And all my niggas correct me. The commandments, the foundation we erected. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. Hey, hey.
Like to claim leadership, they like to claim this and that. You know what I'm saying? They like to be above when they really isn't have authority. But they don't really need that authority. They don't really know what to do with that leadership. You understand? You hold hands with this white ass, need to stop and ask you to give a damn what you talk about. Don't give a fuck what you believe, nigga. Gotta stand up and serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. Yeah. Everybody ain't with all that peace talk. Everybody ain't with all that bygone. Boy, ass shit stop and ass shit drop. It's about to get serious. Boy, when they hit us with dope and kill us with crack, where the fuck with your leaders? I'm curious. He cashed out on your blood, traded you in and bought a new biz. Ask you the prophets, I tell you the scheme. If you don't wake up, you gon' die in your dreams. I say you won't tell you no more. I swear these crackers try to kill us slow. Just spoke to a nigga and fed he up for parole because of the COVID. It feel like the hoes in this world that don't go together. Nowhere is gold in the ghetto. I'm in the city blazing with my niggas. Just told the devil the score never settled. Yeah, see the prophets. I'm tired of these niggas keep talking about, you know, you respect my religion, I respect your religion. Boy, your ass need to stop it. Ask you the props. You know, like we all come together. Cause you know, they say God so loved the world. God so loved the world. And know your ass need to stop it. Ask you. Don't give a damn what you talk about. Don't give a fuck what you believe. You gotta stand up to serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. Yeah. Hey, gentlemen, y'all, we don't pray on our knees, nigga. Gotta stand up. You know what I'm saying? Boy, your ass need to stop it. Ass shit. Wrong with step, I'm solid for show. To the fake niggas, stay silent. I got it. Let's go. Let's go. I ain't taking no loss. Ain't no talking when we got the flow. Ain't no peace, just play with your own. I'ma be loyal to the right arm. Tell them we can't keep me slave. And I can never let bygone be bygone. Got your baby mother on high, your baby pants through the fire. Ain't she the prophets? That baby soul belong to the Lord. How dare you abort it? Your devil will fail you, bitch, I can afford it. I prepare slaughter, you bring me my water. Push your leaders weak, let them lies slip through their teeth. Their ass need to stop it, ass she the prophets.
That's just the reality, Christians. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings. I know your pastor lied to you every Sunday for 30 years, but that's what the church is for, lying. That's why they exist, to lie the money out of your pockets.
Boy, your ass need to stop it, ass she the give a damn what you talk about. Don't give a fuck what you believe, nigga. Gotta stand up to serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. We don't pray on our knees, nigga. Gotta stand up to serve my God. We don't pray on our knees, nigga.
ISUPK presents Ask Ye the Prophets weekly podcast.
Every race in the movie.
We are not to trust. We are not to trust the oppressor, and we are not to trust the other.
Send in your questions to AskYeTheProphets@gmail.com or Ask Ye the Prophets on Facebook. And your questions will be answered live every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shalom.
He's speaking of his Lord.
The white man made himself be the Egyptians and the Israelites. And the Persians. Every race in the movie.
We are not.
Hey, shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another episode of Ask Ye the Prophets. The water for tuning in. Listen, another announcement. I know I just played the advertisement, but we got Passover coming up, man. Passover. Let's do it. April 1st, man, 2023. We got less than 2 months, man. Raleigh, North Carolina. We doing it up big. Passover going to be extraordinary. It only gets better and better. We got a whole week, Commander General Yohana, got a whole week of activities, man, from kids' parties to the tour of the Black Wall Street down there and all the slave quarters and different things. We having a whole tour of that history down there in Raleigh, Passover weekend. Go to the website for the itinerary. We having a black party and we having a whole concert during the black party. So it's going to be extraordinary, man. And then, you know, we're going to close it out that Sunday with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So come on through. Come on through. Book your hotels. Get everything ready, man. Get everything ready. You late in the game if you ain't got them hotels yet. If you ain't booked that flight yet. So let's get it done. Get it done because it's going to be outstanding. Got things for the kids, too. All right. So now, a couple things been coming up. You understand? A couple things been coming up. And I'm going to go into today. I'm going to go into first showing, you know, who those people are that was in Israel during the time of Christ. You understand? Were they Caucasians? Could they have been? You understand? Well, the only thing we have is to go to the scrolls and the histories for proof. You understand? We got the Bible that's the proof. The Torah. We got history. You understand? Some people claim that was them in Israel, in Jerusalem during the time of Christ. They say they the people of Christ. You understand? Maybe that's true. Let's put the facts on the table. Let's go to the records. You understand? And let's see. You know what I mean? Who are those people that fled, that the Romans chased and tried to slaughter, and they had to leave their homeland? You understand? Never for their homeland to be eventually occupied by other people, man, by outsiders. You understand? By immigrants. You understand? by aliens. And the Lord prophesied that one day we'd go back, but it's been a long time since we've been away. You understand? Since the people who fled out of there have been away. We're going to go into who those people are, where'd they go. You understand? How are the slaves Africans? We're going to go into all that. Are the slaves Africans that was on those slave ships? Because Africans say that the African-American over here in America is not the same people as them. You understand? And that's also what the Hebrew Israelite scholars say. They say they are not African. Let's see who was on them slave ships. Why did they come from Africa if they're not Africans? You understand? We also going to go into a sentiment that's being pushed lately, along with all the anti-Semitism. Anything you say about Jewish people is damn near anti-Semitic if they don't like it. You understand? And at the same time, they're also pushing a narrative whenever it comes up about the Holocaust and how horrible it was and how tragic, and everybody should remember it. Nobody should forget when Black people bring up slavery. You understand the slave trade and how that was way more horrible than the Holocaust. And that was an atrocity also that nobody should forget. You understand? Jewish people have recently like to revert back to say, well, we actually were the original slaves back in Egypt. You understand? That's what they push it now. Jewish people claiming to be the original slaves of Egypt. You understand? Trying to say that Black people, you can't bring up your slave trade with us because we are the original slaves. You understand? We're going to go into that too. Who were the original slaves of Egypt? You understand? Let's see. Let's go into it, man. You understand? So let me see. How did we get into let's go to the beginning. Let's go to the beginning. You understand? Who were the Black people on those slave ships? If they weren't African, why did they come out of Africa? You understand? And so forth. Let's do it. Number one, in the Bible, and I'm going to get the scripture. Our Black King Jesus Christ, known by the world as Jesus Christ, his mother named him Yahushua, which just means Savior. It means Savior. You understand? Jesus Christ, he warned the Israelites. He taught our people when he walked this earth, prepared us for the kingdom, and he taught a lot of things. He taught about a new empire coming without Rome. You understand? Which is not good for Rome, but it was good for the Israelites. You understand? But he taught that. And he also warned us that a time was going to come where our enemies would overrun us and come into our homeland and try to destroy us. You understand? He told us not to fight them back. He told us not to fight, but to run. He told us to get the hell out of there, and we're going to get that. Because this ain't known all across the earth, but after Jesus Christ was murdered, and I say murdered because he was murdered. He was murdered for the teaching about the fall of Rome. That's what he taught. You understand? And teaching about the fall of Rome, it angered the Romans, of course, but it also made the Romans angry with the leaders, the Black leaders that they set up at that time. So when Jesus Christ taught about the fall of Rome and this new coming kingdom and how he was sent by the Most High to be a prophet to teach about this kingdom, the Black leaders, the ones that were in charge at that time, under the Romans, under the Caucasian Romans, they were also angry with Christ. So they had a part in his murder too. They the ones gave him to the Romans to be murdered. You understand? Just for teaching about the truth. The kingdom of heaven was coming and Rome was going to fall. This is what Jesus Christ taught. But after he was murdered, his followers, his disciples, and all the followers that they taught, you understand, they continue to teach the truth. They continue with it, you understand? Which, of course, once again, caused the Roman Empire to shatter. You understand? You teaching about Rome going away and this new kingdom ruled by Black people, ruled by Hebrew Israelites, which, you know, the Bible proves that Jesus Christ was Black, and we can get that also. And Peter was Black, and all the disciples, they were people of color. They were not Caucasians, you understand? They were not our oppressors. So the disciples of Christ kept on teaching this after his murder. And eventually, the Roman Empire came down hard on Black people. and tried to enslave us and tried to get rid of us. You understand? And I'm going to show you in a second, right, that this ain't just nothing I'm making up. The ISUPK ain't make up this history. I'm going to show you where Caucasian scholars, white scholars, put this in their books, that Jesus Christ did not teach peace and did not teach the coming together of all people when the Romans and the Israelites and the Jews all come together in sweetness and harmony. I'm going to show you that they knew and put in their books, these scholars, these white scholars, put in their books that Jesus Christ was a troublemaker. That's what they put in their books. He was a troublemaker, like they look at all black people. All black people that don't conform to their culture and their rules and their ways, they consider us troublemakers. And I'm going to read it in a second. First, I'm going to go into the jealousy. I'm going to go into the jealousy of black leaders of Christ. You understand? And the heathens knew that black leaders were jealous of Christ. They knew it and mocked them for it, and mocked them and disrespected them for being jealous of Christ. You understand? Mark 15:9 reads, but Pilate answered them, saying, will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? That's what he asked. He asked, do you want me to release the King of the Jews? Jesus Christ. That's who he was talking about. You understand? Now, this offended black leaders because they were in charge of black people, right? And now this cat pop up teaching, and they're hearing his reputation and all the people following him was messing up their money, messing up black leaders' reputation, messing up their good standing with our oppressor, of course. And so they didn't like it. They didn't like it. You understand? I'm going to read it again. Mark 15:9. But Pilate answered them, saying, will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? Because at this time, and well, I'm gonna read on. For he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy. For envy. He knew that they envied this cat and the people that followed him. And he knew that they couldn't stop Christ. Black leaders couldn't stop Christ because the people believed on him. And he made blind people see. He brought a dead man back to life. He fed a multitude with a few fishes and a couple of loaves of bread. They heard about him turning water to wine. They heard about his miracles, and they could not stop him. So, of course, they hoping Massa can stop him. They hoping Massa can stop him. And so now they delivered him up and told the people and begged Pilate, put him to death. They could have chose Jesus Christ or an actual murderer named Barabbas. But they got together and they sent their team out to tell the people, listen, we want Barabbas. Let them put Jesus Christ to death. We want Barabbas. Why? Because Barabbas wasn't no threat to their money. Barabbas wasn't no threat to their reputation, wasn't no threat to their power, but Jesus Christ was. Jesus Christ was. The 11th verse. But the chief priests moved the people that he should rather release Barabbas unto them. There you go. The black leaders at that time told the people, tell Pilate we want him to release Barabbas and not Jesus Christ. They wanted Jesus Christ to die because they was jealous. They was envious, man. They was envious. You understand? And that's why I said earlier, you know, he was teaching about the fall of Rome and black people was jealous of it. They was jealous because it would piss Rome off. Rome would be mad at them, and the people was believing Jesus Christ because he was teaching all the prophecies of the Old Testament, bringing out all the prophecies and understanding of the Old Testament. And black leaders at that time, they didn't even fully understand the Old Testament. The Pharisees, Sadducees, and the elders during the time of Christ, they didn't even understand fully the Old Testament. Hell, all the way up until these last days, 1969, black people didn't understand. Black leaders, ministers, priests, the world didn't understand these records in the Bible. The Lord gave understanding to the ISUPK in these last days, man. You understand? Now we understand what Christ talked about the Sabbath in the Old Testament and how the disciples ain't do no wrong, picking corn on the Sabbath, and how the priests who worked back in the day in the ancient times did no wrong during the Sabbath. And he broke down the history of the Old Testament and showed prophecy being fulfilled. Now we understand it in these last days. So our black leaders back then are jealous, just like they are jealous of the followers of Christ now. A lot of them are jealous of the ISUPK and hate us and can't stand us, not because we lie, because we ain't lying. None of them can show how we lying. None of them can show how we wrong. None of them. Even the Christian Israelites. You understand? But they are all upset with us and hate us for the same reason they hated Christ. Because of simple jealousy. Jealousy and envy. You understand? Jealousy and envy. Because they weren't the ones sent by God. So they can't get the glory of knowing and understanding scripture and understanding what God wanted. Because he made them look bad. He like a light. Christ was like a light that shine. You understand? And when the light comes on, all the dirt, you can see all the dirt. All the grime is shown and exposed. And all the ignorance of Pharisees and Sadducees and our black leaders at that time was evident when he spoke and when he said things. Their ignorance and their traitorism, man. Them selling out the nation to the Romans was on the surface and shamed them because of him. So they had to get rid of him like Cain did Abel. Instead of switching and doing the right thing, let's just get rid of Abel. And that's what black leaders did to Christ. Let's just get rid of him. Instead of us starting to do right and getting down with him, let's just get rid of him. And that's what most of the world want to do to the ISUPK today. They want to get rid of us. Been trying to get rid of us, hell, since I've been in the truth. Not because we wrong, not because we lying, but because we show how dirty religion is. We show how dirty these priests and ministers are, these imams. We show how dirty these Israelite groups are running around. You understand? And rather than get right, they would like to just get rid of Abel all over again. Get rid of Christ all over again. Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore shall see, this is Christ warning to us. Before he left this earth, he gave the nation a warning, man, because he loved us so much. He said, Matthew 24:15, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. He's talking about a prophecy that Daniel prophesied about wicked, nasty, evil heathens, the abomination of desolation. He spoke about that during his time, the prophet Daniel. Christ saying, when we see that prophecy be fulfilled, when these heathens, these abominable people come and try to destroy us and destroy our holy places by standing in our holy places and occupying our holy places and putting pork on our holy places and doing all manner of sin right there in our holy places, meaning we done lost. They done took over. Christ's going to say, 16th verse, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Our king told us, don't fight them. This ain't our time to win. Christ told us, leave, get the hell out of there, flee into the mountains. This ain't the time to stand up and fight these heathens once we see this prophecy be fulfilled. Once this abomination of desolation is standing in our holy place, Christ said, leave, get out of here, flee into the mountains, man. Flee into the mountains. 17th verse, let them which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Meaning don't come try to pack, don't try to close deals and finish your business before you leave. This is an emergency. Get the hell out of here. Just like we had to get out of Egypt with haste. Christ was telling us the same thing during his time. Get the hell out of there, man. Get the hell out of there. 18th verse. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Don't go back trying to pack a bag, fill your suitcase up. Christ, our king, telling us, get the hell out of here, man. There's a whole nother book called the Josephus, man. The Antiquities of the Josephus, man, of Josephus, where it goes into these times when he told us to leave out of here and the remnant of us that did not make it out. Those of us that didn't listen to him and stayed, and those of us that were captured and got caught. You understand? There's a whole book going on. They surrounded Jerusalem and murdered us off, man. Starved us out, had us in there eating leather. We were so hungry. We were so hungry that we was going around robbing each other, trying to find who got food. You understand? One story is brothers smelled food. They followed it, and broke into this woman's house to see what she cooking because they all starving. Found out she in there cooking her own child, man. Cooking her own child. It broke their heart. Those are the atrocities, some of the atrocities that we was going through. Again, we resorted to eating leather, biting and chewing on leather, man. Trying not to starve. You understand? This is what happened when we did not listen to our king. What verse? 19th verse, Matthew 24:19. And woe unto them that are with child and to them that give suck in those days. Showing you it was going to be a terrible, terrible time, man. A terrible, terrible time that we had to get out of there because why? Our oppressor was coming after us to enslave and murder us. To enslave and murder us. And that ain't the first time that happened, of course, to these people, these Israelites, these black Israelites that Christ tried to warn to get out of here. Now, these mountains, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into these mountains and where they fled to when the Romans came down, when that abomination of desolation stood in our holy place. And the ones of us that did listen to Jesus Christ and fled out of our homeland and ran up into the mountains. We're going to read about where they went. But before I go there, let me show you the type of man Jesus Christ was according to our oppressor. White people know that he wasn't no sweet guy. That old white Jesus that they pushing all across the earth, he's so sweet and tender with his baby blue eyes and his powdered face and rosy cheeks. Who the hell scared of him? You understand? He's a sweet guy. You could do all manner of evil, and he'll say, hey, brother, don't do that evil. I love you. Just love me back. I love all of you. I don't care about what you do. I love you. Even though you sin, I love all of you. He's so sweet and gay. He's so sweet and gay, the Caucasian Christian Jesus. You understand? That's the image that they put on him. But actual historians knew the real spirit of Jesus Christ. And I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that in a second. First, I'm going to show you this book. I'm going to show you this book. Bear with me 1 second again. Let me show you this book. All right. You see this book here? This book is called Medieval Europe. Medieval Europe. Let me get the other pic for you. Bear with me 1 second. Medieval Europe, an introduction to medieval Europe, 300 to the year 1500. James Westfall Thompson and Edgar Nathaniel Johnson. You understand? That's who made this book. This book, you can still get this book. You can still get this book in some places, man. But let me tell you what this book has. This book has a great history that our oppressor, again, ISUPK, did not write this book. We didn't write this book, but it does have the truth about Jesus Christ and the real spirit of Jesus Christ. Why would they put the truth in this book? Why would they? Because this book was never intended for black people to get. This book wasn't intended for blacks and Hispanics to ever read. This book was only intended for Harvard and Yale and Princeton scholars, Rhodes scholars, top officials in this government who communicate through information, man. This was never meant for us to get. Let me read this. And once again, ISUPK ain't write this. These are our oppressors wrote this. And this was true. You understand? This is page 84 of that book called Introduction to Medieval Europe. And it reads, opinions differ as to whether Jesus believed himself to be the Messiah or not, which is actually false because Jesus Christ knew who sent him. He knew who the hell sent him. You understand? Opinions differ as to whether Jesus Christ believed himself to be the Messiah who was to deliver his people, the agent of God in establishing the new kingdom. So now, if they in the Roman Empire, right, and he teaching about a new kingdom, what's going to happen in Rome? Rome got to go away. This is what Jesus Christ taught. You understand? And this is what the scholars knew he taught. He taught about establishing the new kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of the Most High God of Israel. Reading on. But many of his immediate followers took him for the Jewish Messiah. They knew he was the Messiah of the Jews, of the Israelites. Jews is just a word common folk use for Israelites. For Israelites. You understand? Reading on. Thus, when at Jerusalem, he was first publicly proclaimed as the inaugurator of the expected new era. So these prophecies, this is what this means, this prophecy that a new kingdom was going to come, that God would bring his new kingdom, you understand, which everybody would bow to him and follow his laws. This was the new kingdom. This was the expected new era that he taught about. You understand? They say in Jerusalem, that's when he first went public, you understand, and proclaimed that he's bringing in a new kingdom, man, by the power of the Almighty God. Reading on. It was inevitable. Inevitable means you can't avoid this. There's no stopping this. This was going to happen. It had to happen. It was inevitable that he, Jesus Christ, our King, Yahushua, should be looked upon by the authorities. Now, who were the authorities? The Romans. This is the Roman Empire, the Greco-Roman Empire. You understand? And any of the centurions that worked for him, the government, Pilate, all the governors of Rome. You understand? All the ones in charge of Rome. It was definitely because of what Jesus Christ taught about this new era, about this new kingdom. It was only eventual that the authorities of Rome, it said, would be looked, Salakia, going back. He was first publicly proclaimed as an inaugurator of the expected new era. It was inevitable that he should be looked upon by the authorities as a dangerous and fanatical revolutionist. Wait a minute. You got to check that out. You ain't going to never hear this about Jesus Christ in your black Christian church. You ain't going to never hear about this with these Christians out here, black and Hispanic Christians and Native American Indian Christians. They've been taught a watered down false version of the Bible. Comes from slavery. Slavery of the English, slavery of the Spaniards. You understand? Slavery from the French. That's the Christianity that they were taught. And they were never taught about the real spirit of Jesus Christ. But during Jesus Christ's life, he was looked at by the government, the authorities, like we looked at today, like most of them look at us today. Think we a hate group, and we dangerous, and we killers, and we gangbangers, and we murderers, and we don't hurt nobody, man. You ain't got no record of us harming anybody, hurting anybody. We trained and fully trained to defend ourselves, but we don't attack or hurt anybody, man. We ain't murdered nobody. You understand? But we still looked at as dangerous merely for the words that we teach, merely for the thoughts from God that we put in people's mind, man. That's why the ISUPK is considered dangerous. Well, during the time of Christ, the government considered him a dangerous and fanatical. Dangerous, you know what dangerous means. Everybody knows what that means. What does fanatical mean? Fanatical mean zealous. You just don't stop. Just nonstop. No matter what we tell them, no matter how much we threaten them, no matter what we do about it, they out on the streets teaching. We put plants and flower pots and renter bikes on their spot so they can't come on our corner no more. They move across the street to the next corner. Okay, we put stuff there and we put things there and bus stops and different things. We try to get rid of them, but they don't stop. Why? Because ISUPK is fanatical. Why? Because we have the spirit of Christ, and Jesus Christ was fanatical. The government of Rome said Jesus Christ was looked at as a dangerous and fanatical, nonstop revolutionist. Revolutionist, man. That's what he was looked at like. Revolutionist. Now, I'm gonna get the definition of revolution. What does it mean to revolt? A revolutionist is, the root word is revolt. Let's look up the definition of revolt. Let's see. To revolt means, it's a verb meaning to rise in rebellion. To rise in rebellion. That's what Jesus Christ did. And that's what he taught others to do, to rise up. To rise up in rebellion. Now, what does rebellion mean? What does rebellion mean? Because dictionary, they give you other words in the definition that a lot of people may not know what it means. What is rebellion? The definition of rebellion, to act of an act of violent or open resistance to an slakia. Did I skip? No, that's it. That's it. Revolt. Let me make sure. Revolution. Oh, okay, slakia. I skipped. The definition of revolution first. Revolutionist is a person who revolts. A person who revolts. And then I brought out the definition of revolt, which means to rise in rebellion. So anyone that rises in rebellion is revolting. It's called a revolutionist. Now, what is rebellion? Once again, like I just read, an act of violent or open resistance to an established government or ruler. That is the spirit of Christ. Not this love everybody and Christians crying right after some white nationalist murdered a family member. I gotta forgive them. That's what Christ would want. That's what Jesus would want. That's the Christian way. I have to forgive them. No, Jesus Christ didn't teach that, man. He didn't teach to forgive the oppressors when they murder you, when they oppress you, when they terrorize you. He taught you to forgive your brothers, the other 12 tribes, when they offend you or step on your shoe or bump into you or do something against you. He taught us to forgive each other. He didn't teach us to forgive the enemies of God and the other nations, man. What do you think Jesus Christ was revolting against? What do you think he was rebelling against? He was rebelling against the government of our oppressor, man, because he was angry and pissed off on how they was treating us. But he knew it had to happen and prophecy had to be fulfilled. So he came to do his part. So once again, the government of Rome considered Jesus Christ a dangerous and fanatical revolutionist, meaning he was in open resistance against the government of Rome. Now check out the next line. Once again, our oppressor wrote this book. They wrote this book. And they knew he was dangerous. And they knew he was a fanatic about the business of God. Hell, when he was 12 years old, he told his parents, I must be about my father's business, man. He wasn't playing. He wasn't playing. And that's why us in the ISUPK, we really love God. And we really love Jesus Christ and believe in them. And so we going to be fanatical. We going to be fanatical also. Called him a dangerous and fanatical revolutionist, man. We going to rebel too. We're not going to conform like our king didn't conform. We're going to teach and resist and open resistance against this established government, man. And we've been doing this since 1969. They see so many people waking up, and the Lord is waking up so many people to this truth that we speak, knowing it's not a lie and that they're facts. So they're trying to clip us on social media, man. They don't even want it to get out. Anything, hell, they might clip me today just by saying the word Jewish. I'm going to try to be as respectful as I can. You understand? Because they own all the social media clubs and outlets and media. You understand? So they banning us left and right. But, you know, I'm just teaching history. You understand? I'm not saying nothing bad about Jewish people. I'm not saying nothing bad about anybody. I'm just reading history. That's it. It said he was a dangerous and fanatical revolutionist. Check this out. About to disrupt the well-established order of things. They said Jesus Christ was disrupting the well-established order of Rome. Rome had their leaders and ran their empire and got rich. They was the number one superpower on the earth during this time, Rome, the Roman Empire. And they even had the Hebrew Israelites in oppression. But they had a little more freedom. Yeah, I say a little more freedom than we do here in America, because at least they knew that they were Israelites. They didn't strip us of our culture yet. They didn't strip us of our identity. But they did take black leaders from amongst us and establish them and put them in seats and put them in charge of us to keep us in line. Same thing that oppressors always do. Even Pharaoh in Egypt, he had oppressors keep the Egyptian slaves in line. And we'll get into who they were in a little bit. You understand? So these black leaders were set up by Romans, Caucasians ruling Rome, white people during that time were set up to keep the Hebrew Israelites in line. They were our black leaders. You understand? But the historians know that Jesus Christ was disrupting by his teachings, man. By his teachings, and people believe in his teachings and the miracles and his reputation. And nobody could cut him, and he would cut the leaders, and they would have to shut their mouth before him. They knew he was disrupting things that were well established already in Rome. You understand? So he was very dangerous. He was very dangerous, not because of any violence or murder or crime. He was dangerous simply because he or what he taught, because he taught the word of God, and he taught what the Lord wanted. You understand? And he taught, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, the kingdom of heaven would be here again. And that God never forgot about the Israelites. And that even those Israelites that were cut off so long ago, those other tribes, those Hispanic, we call them today, Hispanic and Indian tribes, even they were still part of the nation and was coming back home. That's what Christ taught. And that was disruptive to what the Roman Empire had going on. It was also disruptive to what the black leaders had going on. Once again, they had sold us out already. They were sitting in high seats under Rome, getting paid, just like your black leaders of today. No different. No different from your black leaders of today. Now let me get this. Let me get this book, man. This is a heavy book here. You understand this? I'm going to go into a book called From Babylon to Timbuktu. Babylon to Timbuktu. Let me pull that up right quick. First, I'm going to show you. Most of you know what it looked like, but some of you newcomers, you might not know what it looked like. This is the book From Babylon to Timbuktu, which is essential in the truth. It's an essential book going into some of the history, of who came out of Africa and got on those slave ships, and how they got there. Why were they there? Why were they there? Babylon to Timbuktu. You understand? That's what this is. So y'all get that book, man, whenever you can. It's important, and it's a good book for your studies. A very good book for your studies. So I'm gonna go to page. Let me see. This is page. Let me pull it up for you. This here is page 84. Page 84 in the book Babylon to Timbuktu, right? And it reads, in the year 65 BC. Because remember, going back, y'all remember Christ warned us, right? He said, when you see the abomination of desolation stand in the holy place, it was prophesied way back during the time of Daniel. He said, when you see that, flee, get the hell out of here. Go into the mountains, man. If you outside the house in the field, don't come back to pack no bag. Get the hell out of here. If you up on the rooftop, don't go down to gather your things. Don't come say your goodbyes. You understand? Get the hell out of here. Because the destruction is desolation. That's why it's called the abomination of desolation. It was a prophecy that we was going to be destroyed out of our homeland. Christ warned us. Most of us got up out of there. So now, let's see what was going on. This is another historian, Rudolph Windsor. You understand? He wrote this a long time ago. It reads, in the year 65 BC, that's 65 years before Christ was born, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. So during the time of Christ, of course, Jerusalem was already captured. The Romans was in charge. So when Christ walked the earth, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all and the elders and all them during that time, they were all, they knew they were Israelites, but they were occupied by the Romans. The Romans were in charge. That's why a lot of our Israelite brothers went and worked for the Romans. They were centurions. You got records in the Bible about us becoming centurions or police officers or going to their military because they were in charge during that time. They captured Jerusalem. Now, years later in 70 AD, which is about what, 40 years after Christ died, you understand? They 70 AD means, they say, 70 years after the birth of Christ. You understand? But Christ, he was murdered when he was about 33. So this is about 40 years later in 70 AD. General Vespasian and his son Titus, they were generals in the Roman army. You understand? Put an end to the Jewish state. Now, at first they just occupied us. You understand? They just captured us. They were just in charge of us, much like America is in charge of us today. We over here in America, right? And at one time, before the Caucasians came and took over America, you had Israelites over here. You had the tribe of Gad, you had the tribe of Simeon, you had the tribe of Reuben, you had the tribe of Ephraim. A lot of the tribes of Israel was over in these Americas, North, Central, and South America, which you'll find that in the Apocrypha, how we left slavery and left our oppressor and sailed for years all the way around Africa into a land that nobody knew. That land wasn't the Americas. So we was here already when England came, when the European settlers came, man. The Caucasian settlers came, and they eventually captured this land and named it America. You understand? Thought it was the new land. Came over here, saw that people was there, and still pushed it in history like it was the new land. Like Columbus discovered America. No, they just discovered where the Israelites were, and they captured us and oppressed us and took over this land. You understand? Just like they captured Jerusalem during the, before Christ was born. So General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state. So that would be today like America saying, you know what? We had it with these black people, man. We had it with these Hispanic people. And the race war start. And they send their army against us to try to destroy us, man. And we as a people got to try to get the hell out of here. That's what that will be like. They put an end to the Jewish state. The Hebrew Israelites, they started coming against us, man, and moving on us. Why? Because after the death of Christ, we kept on teaching about Christ. We kept on teaching about the fall of Rome. We kept on teaching about this new kingdom that's coming instead of Rome. We kept on teaching about this new era that was coming, just like Jesus Christ taught. Guess what? We kept on being dangerous and fanatical revolutionists even after Christ was gone. He was the top dangerous and fanatical revolutionist, and the people that followed him and believed in him, all his disciples, they kept that spirit going, man. They kept that spirit going so much to the generals of Rome had to put an end to us, man. Put an end to the Jewish state means they had to end and silence us. They had to silence us. Much like Jewish people are trying to do today. They're trying to silence any black person that comes out and say, we are the Semitic people. Any black person that says, we are the real Jews. They try to silence it, man. They try to silence it. And there may come a time, there will come a time where they will physically try to oppress and suppress us and silence us. In these last days, it's coming. It's coming. So back at this time, after the death of Christ, they kept teaching about him, and Rome had enough. Rome had enough, you understand, and General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. With great slaughter, meaning what? They murdered us. What do Caucasian people always do to black people? When they're tired of us and sick and tired of us, man, prospering and banding together in unity, they decide to murder us. What do you think happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma? They saw black people, we minding our business, we getting prospering, having businesses, doing our thing, and that was too much for white people. And they eventually found some way to go through Tulsa, Oklahoma and murder us and destroy our prosperous businesses and drop bombs on our prosperous businesses and homes and get us the hell out of there. You understand? And that's what's coming in America too, man. That's what's coming in America. But at this time, they, with great slaughter, tried to end the Jews, the Israelites. You understand? During the period of the military governors, once again, they had military governors. Today, that would be like your martial law, where you got the military also policing the cities. You understand? During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. Remember, Christ told us to leave. A lot of us did not leave. They were the residue. They were the residue. So those, when it was martial law in Jerusalem and Palestine and in Israel, they were killing us, man, and destroying the residue of the people, the black people that were still there, the Israelites that were still there. You understand? Many outrages and atrocities. Again, you can read a lot of this in the Josephus. And atrocities were committed against the residue of the people during the period from Pompey to Julius, which these were two famous Caesars. And we read about Pompey early up when they first captured Jerusalem. It said during the period from Pompey was a Caesar, and Julius. Everybody know Julius, the Caesar Julius, right? It has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. Fled into Africa, man. So the world's greatest kept secret was how did the Jews, if historians say the Jews were in Africa and got on those slave ships, why were those Jews in Africa? We just read it. They were it said over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. Slavery. Number one, that 1 million is just an estimate. Just an estimate. Anytime historians estimate a number, is probably triple that. Triple that. The Jews fled into Africa. Why? Because white people were trying to murder us for teaching about Christ. And they didn't go around saying, were you teaching about Christ? Were you teaching about Christ? No, they said, we killing all of them. We getting rid of all of them or putting them in slavery, either one. So we had to get the hell out of there. We remember what Christ said, and we got the hell out of there. It was overestimated that over 1 million of us fled into Africa, man. Why? Because the Africans were brown like us. They were close. And we figured, hell, these Caucasians, these Romans that are Caucasians, they think all black people look alike anyway, still to in 2023. So let's run amongst these other brown people. Although they was a whole separate race from us, although they was a whole nother race, let's run amongst these other brown people. You understand? Let's go against them, and maybe we can blend in a little bit. And listen, we were in Africa. The Jews fled into Africa, running from the murder of the Caucasians, man, called the Roman Empire at that time. And we went into Africa and lived in Africa for, for centuries, man, thousands of years, man. You understand? And in Africa, we were not accepted by the Africans. You understand? They didn't love us and take us under their wing. You understand? Let me finish reading this. Fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery, the slave markets, everybody know about the slave markets, those ships that certain people paid for with the same last names, and other people paid for, the names end with vowels and different things. Those slave markets were full, it says, of black Jewish slaves. What does that mean? That means according to history, the black people that were in those slave ships were not Africans, they were Jews. They were Jews. They were Israelites. They were Israelite slaves. How did they become slaves in Africa? Because the Africans made deals and did business. We were like a commodity. They did business with the Europeans who knew we had fled into Africa from the Romans. Africa. They knew we had fled into Africa, man. So they just came, made deals with Africans, gave them money or traded or whatever, and the Africans gladly got rid of us and gave us to the Europeans. We were loaded on ships and then hauled off to America, man. And then hauled off to America. That's our history. That's what really happened to you, black man. That's what really happened to you. You understand? So you were in Africa for a while, a good long time, right? And eventually you were loaded on the slave ships and came over here to America, to the Americas. You understand? And now listen, now, first let me get this. Check this out. This is in the same book. This is in the same book, From Babylon to Timbuktu. You understand, on page 90. On page 90. And it reads this, because listen, in Africa, you know, if any people go into the land of a people and they don't belong, and you go into a strange land of a people that's already there, you know, those people more than likely won't accept you, especially if they're of another race. So you had the black Jews, the Hebrew Israelites, run from white people in Rome into Africa. You know, the Africans looking at us like, who are these strangers in our land? We didn't invite them there, but we had to run there for our life. You understand? So they don't always treat you right. They don't always treat you good. You understand? You ain't always welcomed with open arms. You understand? You're not always welcome with open arms. Bear with me. So now this says the black Jews had an advantage over the Africans. Now, that mere comment, the mere comment by this historian scholar shows you that there's a difference between the black Jews or the Hebrew Israelites and the Africans. Because he just said here, the black Jews had an advantage over the Africans. Now, we strangers in their land, right? We in their land, ran for our life, and even then, we had an advantage over them, much like Tulsa, Oklahoma, once again. We in a land that's occupied by Caucasians, but even in little Tulsa, Oklahoma, and other cities around America. We about to go learn about one and do a tour, and one in Raleigh, North Carolina. Our little cities or our little communities, if they leave us alone, we'll build up our resources and we'll unite and we'll start to come up if they leave us alone. And our oppressor knows this. He learned this over time. That's why he don't leave us alone. That's why the police are constantly terrorizing us, because if they leave us alone, we would become great without them. You understand? Like in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we became great and prosperous. They said, to hell with that, and they burned it down. Like many, even in, like, again, we about to go to North Carolina. We got great there. They destroyed it, like always. Many other cities. You understand? So now, here we in Africa now, running from the Romans for our life, because they pissed off because we kept teaching about the fall of Rome and the rise of this kingdom of heaven from the Israelite God. And so we ran out of there and we ran into Africa. And in Africa, historians say that we had an advantage over the African tribes. It says they carried their culture, our culture, we Hebrew Israelites, right? So you know we bring our whole culture with us, our scrolls, our fringes, our borders of blue, all the different things, you know, our laws, and you know what I'm saying? We bring all that with us. We carried our culture with us, our history, our laws, and written records with them. So we had all of our things, man. That's what kept us separate from the Africans. Once again, that's what being holy is. Holy is being separate or different from the other people that God wanted us to be separated from. Tells you that in the book of Leviticus, 20th chapter. You understand? So now, we kept all our culture with us, right? It says, this assured them a constant precedent for the development of a higher social organization. Because once again, like it says in the book of Deuteronomy, if we follow our laws and commandments, Black and Hispanic people, North American Indian people, if we followed that Bible and loved each other and treated each other according to our records like God told us to, the rest of the world will look at us like we are great. We are great and better than them. Because those records and those laws and those customs in our Bible, Black, Hispanic, North American Indian man, it makes us better than everybody else. And that's why keeping all those things, it said here, even in Africa, it created a precedent for the development of a higher social organization. Reading on. Because of the stability of the Black Jewish culture, even in Africa, we were stable because we had our culture. We knew how to eat. We knew what to cook. We knew what not to eat. We knew what to celebrate. We knew how to live. We knew how to treat each other. You understand? It said the Jews were not absorbed into the autochthonous population, into the autochthonous population. Autochthonous just means indigenous, the people that were born there, Africans, in other words. I'm going to read it again. Because of the stability of the Black Jewish culture, because of the Israelites' culture and our government and our laws that were set up so long ago, we kept that in Africa. It said the Jews were not absorbed into the Africans' culture, into the autochthonous population. You understand? It says, in fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. We were so fly and so the shit that Africans wanted to be down with us, man. They wanted to be down with us. You understand? But the fact is, you got to be born an Israelite. You got to be born one of these 12 tribes. Your blood, man. We Jews by blood. And your blood got to go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You understand? So no matter how much you act like these Black Jews, no matter how much you take the culture of these Black Jews, no matter how much you try to learn to speak Hebrew like the Jews, the real Black Jews, no matter how much you mimic them and imitate them, unless you're born by blood, you are not them. You are not them. And that's what the ISUPK try to teach our brothers following Islam. You understand? Your blood does not go back to the Arabs. And unless your blood goes back to the Arabs, you'll never be an Arab. So why dress like an Arab, speak Arabic language and prayers and pray to an Arab God and learn Arab cultures when we will never be Arabs? That's not us. And they'll never accept you as an Arab. Just like the Hebrew Israelites will never accept an African as a Hebrew Israelite. They got those Falashan Jews, those Ethiopians, Haile Selassie and his people, man, who think they Jews and claim to be Israelites. No, we don't accept you. We don't accept you. You understand? You're only and we'll go into who they really are. Who are the Ethiopians? Who is Haile Selassie? Who are the Africans by blood? Because that's what the Bible is about. It's about blood nations and blood races, man. You understand? Reading on. The Jews were not absorbed into the autochthonous population, the indigenous culture. In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. The Africans wanted to be down. Some of them, not the majority of them. It's just like 2023. Y'all see our oppressors. White people want to dress like you and be you and talk slang and learn rap. Remember, General Yohana took a trip to Israel years ago. He said he heard Snoop Dogg playing on the banks of Egypt on a boat. And as the boat came close and came around, he saw that these were Egyptians and white people jamming the Snoop Dogg. White people over in Egypt jamming the Snoop Dogg. These other nations love to mimic us and be like us. That don't make you us. Just because you in our motherland, that don't make you us. Our motherland is Israel, not Africa. You understand? Just because you take our scrolls and our Torah and our Tanakh and different things that we do, our menorah, and you try to claim the shield of David, just because you do those things, it doesn't make you us. It doesn't make you us. Because this is a blood culture, man. Your blood got to go back to Jacob. And unfortunately, for them, white people, no matter what tribe, white American, white Russian, white Ukrainian, white French, white German, white Jewish, white Australian, white Polynesian, white Polish. They are all different tribes of their forefather Esau. They are children of Esau by blood, Edomites. The Bible says Esau is Edom. So those people are Edomites by blood. Negroes, Hispanics, North American Indians, we are Jews by blood. You understand? And that's, no shot out. I'm not throwing shade on nobody. I'm not trying to be aggressive or offensive. I'm teaching history here. Written in scholarly books. I'm reading it right now. I'm reading on. But the Jews made use of every opportunity. Once again, we in Babylon to Timbuktu, page 90. The Jews made use of every opportunity. They were, because we were so smart and our culture was so great, we knew how to make everything, build homes, do all type of things with whatever we have in the land. We knew how to live off the land. You understand? They were an industrious and skillful people. You hear that? Even in Africa, running for our lives in a strange land, we were still industrious, man, and still full of skills, just like 2023. 2023, Black people, even in this horrible oppression in America, under the Americans, we still full of skills. We still the salt of the earth, full of flavor and style, and still smart as hell. And if they would leave us the hell alone, we would come together with those skills and we would be greater than them. But they know it. They know it. That's why they hire any bubba for the police force, any dunk-brained, donkey-brained redneck for the police force, any goofball or any sellout, Black or Hispanic, for their police force, and train them how to be good sellouts. Because why? That terrorizes us constantly, day and night, and we don't have a chance to unify. We don't have a chance to unify because we constantly getting pulled over for nonsense, constantly getting stopped and arrested over nonsense, constantly getting charged for breaking their laws that are menial. When any society that really loves their society, if they got laws that should be followed, they would be teaching them in school. They're from the child. When the child is young, they will begin teaching the laws of this land if they gave a damn about the laws. If they gave a damn about the people in the land, you understand? Any nation, any culture, they would teach their young the laws of the land to be familiar with it. Blacks and Hispanics, North American Indians, we don't learn that in our schools for sure. We don't learn that in our schools. And then they come up with another thing for the courts. Ignorance of the law is not a defense. So because we don't teach it to you and you didn't know it was a law, so what? 20 years, 15 years. That's called oppression. Reading on, though, in Babylon to Timbuktu, it says, the Jews made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skillful people, and we always have been. In the Jewish Ghanaian states, meaning Israelites, were around Ghana also. It said they were found kings, princes, governors, and generals. You understand? Because that's what we was used to. We was used to our government, and we was used to rank in positions, man. Because without rank, you just have chaos. So we was always used to a structure, a ranked structure. You understand? Generals, secretaries, and these Christian Israelites, man, how you gonna be a general? We always had generals. It's in the scripture, and even when we ran into Africa, we still had generals. Secretaries handling our business, treasurers dealing with the money, revenue agents, which would help the treasurers dealing with the money, judges. We had courts, but they didn't make you swear on the Bible and then throw the Bible away and judge by a whole separate law. No, you were judged according to the laws of the Most High, the laws of God through Moses, all the way from Adam. You understand? Judges we had architects, man. architects, engineers, man. You understand? We got engineers all in the UPK, man. Architects, all of this we got in the UPK already. We had in Africa, and we always had in our culture, man. Engineers, doctors. Yes, we got doctors in the UPK. Yes, full out doctors. You understand? Historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers. We was fly, even in Africa. Don't let them tell you while we was in Africa, we just we start reaching in cow butts and rubbing the cow dung and piss on our skin to keep the bugs away. That's what Africans do. That's their culture. We didn't do that. We was flossing in Africa. We had jewelers, man. We like to look good wherever we at. We like to look good. Like, I ain't never seen a people growing up in all my life in America that's so oppressed and terrorized and so impoverished in America, but we still walk around like we the flyest thing on earth, man. We even call each other kings. No matter how poor we are, call each other kings because that's just our spirit, man. We got the royal spirit of God in us, man. And so we had jewelers. We was fly as hell, man. We had jewelers. What else? Sculptors. We built anything, man. Sculptors, masons, man. We built anything, put together anything, had engineers for the blueprints. We will make spectacular things, man. Carpenters, painters of art. We had goldsmiths. Where you think the flossing come from? We had people knew how to take that gold and make it nice. Get diamonds and everything. Take silver, make it nice. Leather workers, flossing in the leather, man. Potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturists, etc., man. We had all these things, even while we was in Egypt, in a strange land. In Africa, in this strange land, and got into Africa because, again, Roman white people were trying to murder us because we continued to teach about Jesus Christ. Last thing I want to read in the book Babylon and Timbuktu, man. Once again, ISUPK didn't write this book. This was written by scholars, man. Rudolph Windsor was a scholar who traveled Europe, you understand, and found these things out. And even in his historical records, he's quoting white people. He's quoting white scholars and white people who are historians and who wrote books about history. I'm going to read this. This is page 133 in the book Babylon and Timbuktu. Just this little short part. It said, before Dr. Godbey published his book, The Lost Tribes of Myth. So there's a Dr. Godbey who published a book called The Lost Tribes of Myth, right? There was a Rabbi Matthew. He organized a Hebrew congregation. This is way back in 1918. In 1918, and he proclaimed that the black people of the United States and the West Indies are the original black Hebrews. Black people of the United States and the West Indies, our Benjamite brothers and sisters, Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, St. Thomas, St. Croix, all them islands, they are the original black Hebrews, man. That's history, man. Those are the records. This ain't nothing we got to make up. Scriptures say the earth going to help the woman, man. History, archaeology, all these type of things would help us, man, and be available to us. Once again, it wasn't intended for us to find out about these books, of course. You know that. You know that. It's purely the Spirit of the Lord that had us to even find these records. We wasn't supposed to find these records. Come on. You kidding me? You kidding me? We wasn't supposed to find these things. Moving on. You understand? Oh, let me get one more definition before I go more into it. Let me show you who the Ethiopians are, who the real Africans are. You understand? Who are the real Africans? Let me see. Boop, gotta get it right here. Let me show you who the real Africans are. Because once again, we just read the Hebrews ran into Africa, right? Running from white Roman murder and oppression. In Africa, we kept our culture and we became great. But as always, the people of the land couldn't stand us. Africans could not stand us, did not like us. You understand? And eventually put us on ships, gave us to the Europeans, and brought us to the Americas, including those West Indian islands. You understand? Now, this is going into a lot of the people who claim to be the Africans that want to pick up our culture. Because like we read, even when we were in Africa, we did not give a damn about their culture, but our culture was so fly that a few of them tried to get down with our culture and tried to become us. You understand? And I'm sure that's where the birth of them Ethiopian Falashin Jews come from. And Haile Selassie and all his people, right? Let me show you something. All African countries, all the people in Africa, again, they're just different tribes. Like I brought out earlier, how white people are just different tribes of a man named Esau, Edomites. All the African countries and tribes and cultures, they are just different tribes going back to one man named Ham. Their forefather's name is Ham. Now, let's read about him. Ham, the youngest son of Noah. Again, Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, Ham, again, is the father of all the African tribes. Where do the Hebrew Israelites come from? We come from Shem. We come from Shem. When you hear anybody today say anti-Semitic, it's actually pronounced anti-Shemitic. Anti-Shemitic meaning what? You are the descendants of Shem and people are against you. That's what anti-Shemitic means. You are against the children of Shem. And now, black people, Hispanics, North American Indians, we descend from Shem. We descend from Noah's son, Shem. Why? Because Abraham is a descendant of Shem. Isaac is a descendant of Shem, and Jacob is a descendant of Shem. Jacob had 12 sons, which became the 12 tribes of Israel. Hebrew Israelite, Jews, blacks, Hispanics, North American Indians. You are the descendants of Shem. You are Shemitic. Now, when black people say that today, Jewish people get upset. Now, I can't figure out why. I can't figure out why they get upset when black people find out that they descend from Shem. They are Shemitic. It's not anti-Semitic to claim your identity as being a children of Shem. We ain't saying you white people aren't children of Shem, because according to the records, white people are children of Shem also. Esau was a child of Isaac, who was a child of Shem. You understand? The only thing happened was God cut Esau off from the family and said Jacob is the chosen one, and Esau, because he gave up his birthright, is rejected. So Esau, which are any white tribe, any Caucasian tribe, be it American, Jewish, French, German, Russian, they are not looked at by God as the children of Shem any longer, though they may claim it. Going back to the definition of Ham. Ham was the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood. So when the flood came during the time of Noah, his son Ham was about 96 years. And Ham was one of 8 persons to live through the flood. Who all lived through the flood? It was Noah and his wife. It was Shem, Ham, Japheth, and each of them had a wife. 8 people lived through the flood. Ham was just one person of the 8 that lived through the flood. He, talking about Ham, became the progenitor of the dark races. He was the father of the dark races at that time, the very dark races, not the Negroes, it says. Right after that, it comes back to say not the Negroes, meaning what? Ham became the father of a lot of dark brown races at that time, but another dark brown race known as Negroes, he is not their father. He is not their father. So Ham fathered dark races, but he didn't father the Negro people, man. Reading on. But the Egyptians. So Ham did father the Egyptians. Who are they? An African tribe, an African culture. The Ethiopians, Haile Selassie, the Phoenician Jews, they are an African tribe, and they also claim to be Jews like us, but they lie. They are not, because you have to be born an Israelite, and they do not descend from Jacob. You understand? So the Ethiopians are a child or a tribe of Ham. They're an African tribe. The Libyans are an African tribe, which are the children of Ham. And the Canaanites, another African tribe, an African section from the Israelites. The Egyptians is like, they were in like your East Africa. East Africa. Ethiopia was like maybe Central Africa. Libyans were like West Africa. Canaanites were like your southern area of Africa. They were all African peoples, children of Ham. Those are who the Africans are, but not the Negroes. Us Negroes, us black people, African American, colored, Asiatic, whatever label you put on us, we are not the children of Ham. We are the children of Shem, the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are the children of Israel. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. That's who we are. You understand? That's who we are. We are not the people that the world try to push. They try to push Africanism on us so that we can lose our culture. And that was prophesied too in the book of Psalms 83rd chapter. You know, they seek crafty counsel saying, let's cut them off from being a people, so the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. That's true. That's prophecy also. You understand? And look, I compare that, us being in Africa and not Africans, I compare that to like, Jeremiah Hyman brought this out a little in his class. It's like a toll collectors, right? When you go to a toll, like when I drive to Florida, you know what I'm saying, even going to New York, I'm not from New York. So when I leave Philly, we got to go through tolls, meaning we got to pay whatever they want to enter into New York, because I'm not a New Yorker. You understand? I'm not a New Yorker. I know when I drive to Florida, it'd be small areas. Whenever I'm driving through Florida, it'd be little tolls you got to pay because, you know, you're an outsider. And outsiders, the people of the land, a lot of times they tax or charge outsiders toll or fees or whatever. You understand? You're not accepted as one of the people living there, in other words. You're not the same as them. You understand? You're not accepted as one of them. You understand? So, and I'm going to read a scripture where Christ talked about that. Matthew 17:24 reads, and when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter. So this Christ and the disciples, right? The people of Capernaum, you know, they came to Peter and said, doth not your master pay tribute? Like Peter and them and the disciples in Christ, they in Capernaum, but they not from Capernaum. You understand? And they asking Peter, why don't y'all, you know, to pay the taxes, man? You ain't from here. Do your master, does he tell y'all got to pay tribute? Are y'all hip to the, you know, the rules of this land? You understand? It's still like that in a lot of places, even in your on the streets, man, on street level. Sometimes even rappers, when they come into a certain area, because some of them from the streets, and even the ones that's not, you know, sometimes you got to reach out to the cat that's claiming the city, and you know, make peace with him. I'm gonna be doing a show in your city, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's all good. You know what I mean? It's like you paying a toll or a tax or getting permission. You understand? So they asked Peter, why don't you and your master, you know, did he tell y'all got to pay tribute since y'all not from here? 25th verse. He saith, yes. And when he was come into the house, Yahushua prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon? of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children or of strangers, right? So Christ asking him, the kings of the earth, the people that own the land and rule the land, when who do they take tribute money from? Who got to pay them tolls? Who got to get permission from them to do certain things? Who do they take tribute or custom from? Of their own people that's from here, or of the strangers, of the outsiders? Of course, Peter saith unto him, of strangers, meaning the outsiders. A land or rulers, they don't do special taxes to their own citizens and their own people, but the outsiders that come into the land and visit their land, they do have to pay tribute. They do have to pay some type of recompense. You understand? They do have to do that. Give me 1 second. Let me check this. All right, no problem. Okay, so they do have to pay tribute. So when Peter said that, it says, Yahushua saith unto him, then are the children free. Meaning, all right, that means that the people of the land are free because they don't take tribute of them. Peter just said they don't take tribute of the people of the land, the children. They take tribute of the strangers, the outsiders. You understand? And Peter told him, yeah, it's the outsiders. And Christ said, then are the children free. So Christ was letting it be known that the people of this land here, they're free, but we are not free. We are subject unto them. Like any stranger that come into someone's land, those strangers are subject unto the people of the land. And while even though we were in Africa for so long, we were actually subject to those Africans. We was in their land, you understand, and they knew it. And eventually they wanted something for us being there and decided, you know what, we're going to give them to these Europeans. This has been looking for them. It's been looking for them. We're going to make deals with them. You understand? We're going to make deals with them. Let me see. So that's it on that. So the next thing I want to come up with time is time to, okay, maybe I have enough time to get into this. I'm going to try to speed up a little bit. It's a thing going around, like I said earlier, where Jewish people say they are the original slaves. Let me get that for you. Let me get that for you. Boo, boo. Give me 2 seconds. And listen closely to this. I'm going to just play the audio because I'm not sure if they're going to flag me if I play the video. So this is just audio. It's just going to be audio. All right. Give me 2 seconds. Let me make it small since it's just audio. It's a black screen, Salakia. All right. So listen close to this. Akim.
So Ezra tells me that you guys used to have a boat growing up. Yeah, I was thinking that maybe one day we can rent a boat and go out, hang out.
Oh,
That would be really
I
fun.
think I can make that happen.
Well, we'll think about it because black folks don't really have a good relationship with boats.
That's very true. Or water.
So now these are Jewish people, you know, they own a boat in this movie. This is a new movie that's really nonsense. But the blacks, this one sister says, we heard you guys, you know, have boats or do boating. Maybe we could all get together. Me, because this black woman was trying to marry an oppressor's daughter, a Jewish couple's son, excuse me. Our black sister was trying to marry in the movie a Jewish couple's son. So now they sitting at the table, this sister with this Jewish son, with his parents, 2 Jewish parents and 2 black parents, all sitting at the table. And she offered to let's get a boat one day, and we all could get on the boat and we all could enjoy each other. Since, you know, I heard y'all into boating. And the black parents say, you know, well, we'll think about it because, you know, black people, we ain't got good history with boats. And then the black mother laughed and said, yeah, or water for that matter. Listen on.
It's kind of like Jews with trains, right?
Oh.
And what the Jewish woman did, she came back and laughed. She said, oh, that's kind of like Jews with trains, speaking about the Holocaust, right? with the trains, with the Germans putting them on trains and taking them to be slaughtered or whatever happened with them. You understand? Listen up.
Bingo. Are you trying to compare the Holocaust to slavery?
Oh, no. I'm not doing, I mean, I wouldn't do that. Oh, although, you know, if you think about it, I think the blacks and the Jews have a similar struggle.
Yeah, no, so you are kind of sort of comparing the two, just a little bit.
Potatoes,
Maybe.
Well, Jews were technically the original slaves.
You
Yeah.
hear that? The original slaves.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, well, you're going all the way back to Egypt. Okay, well, you do know that was 3,500 years ago.
You see? He tried to say Jews, you know, technically, okay, y'all got slavery. That was horrible and everything. But technically, us Jewish people, we are the original slaves, the OG slaves. You understand? And so now, and that's accepted by a lot of people. Even in the movie, the black couple accepted that because it's still not a worldwide known thing that who those slaves were actually in Egypt, man. Who those slaves were in Egypt. So now let's go into it. Let's go way back. Who are the original slaves? The OG slaves. Were they Jewish people? Are they slaves before us? You understand whose slavery was worse? And it sounds kind of strange to compare whose slavery was worse. Is it worse when they killed your family or worse when they killed my family? That would be kind of strange to do, but we got to make this argument because what you're going to find out that those people that claim to be in slavery like black people were not even in slavery like black people. The original slaves of Egypt, historians prove that they were black people. But let's get it. Don't believe me. Again, I'm just teaching history. I'm not trying to offend nobody. I'm not trying to make anybody upset. I'm just teaching history. You understand? So let me go to, give me Exodus. I'm gonna read Exodus, the first chapter, and I'm gonna read down to the 5th verse. I'll give y'all a second to get it. All right, now I'm going to read it. Exodus 1 and 5 reads, "Now, these are the names of the children of Israel," it says, "which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob." Once again, Jacob is the son of Isaac. Isaac is the son of Abraham. Abraham is the great grandson of Noah's son Shem. Abraham was Shemitic. Isaac was Shemitic. Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, he was Shemitic. The 12 tribes of Israel are Shemitic. You understand? And there was a time when they first came into Egypt, it said every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, which were one of the sons or tribes of Jacob. Simeon, one of the sons or tribes of Jacob. Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, and Dan, and Naphtali, the tribe of Gad, and Asher. All the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob. Let me read that again. All of the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob, blood. You got to be descended by blood. All of the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. 70. It didn't mention Jacob's son Joseph. Why? The next verse says, "For Joseph was in Egypt already." Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Joseph was in Egypt already. He was already in Egypt, man. So that's why it didn't mention him as one of the 70 who walked into Egypt. And I want y'all to remember that later on, a little bit down the show. They walked into Egypt. 70 people, these were the Israelites in total. 70 people made up the nation of Israel at this time, made up the Jews at this time. You understand? Let me show you something. While they were in Egypt, right? They grew. And again, Joseph was already there because Joseph ended up being the number one man to Pharaoh because he interpreted a dream for Pharaoh and he actually saved Egypt through his dream that the Most High gave him. So Joseph saved Egypt. Pharaoh made him his number one right-hand man. Eventually, Joseph had his brothers and his father and his sister, them come into Egypt and their families. And so they walked into Egypt. You understand? Joseph was there already, had great power. Eventually, after Joseph died, Joseph had two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. They became tribes of Israel. Israel adopted them. Jacob/Israel adopted those two. So now they're in Egypt having children, children having children, children having children, and became big, became a great nation. You understand? And so eventually the new Pharaoh said, these people is growing, man, having babies all over the place, man. We got to do something about them before they get so big. And once again, if you leave them alone, they're going to be great. And they saw that. He said, the new Pharaoh said, if we leave these people alone, and remember, Israel, we was okay under Joseph because Joseph had power in Egypt, our brother, Joseph, right? And so after he died and after the Pharaoh died, a new Pharaoh came up who saw our prosperity, who saw our growth and said, listen, we got to do something about these Israelites because they so big, you know, if they would ever decided to go against us, they would be powerful and they could join our enemy and overthrow us. So they began to oppress our people, man. They began to oppress the children of Jacob. They began to oppress them. And so now I'm going down to the time of Moses. Now Moses is born. Moses is a man now. You understand? Moses has been chosen by God because any prophet of God is an Israelite. They're always the children of Jacob, any prophet. So God chose Moses to be the leader of the Israelites. And now I'm reading Exodus 4:1. And Moses answered and said, but behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, the Lord have not appeared unto thee. So the Most High came to Moses and gave him a mission to go to Israel and tell Israel different things. And Moses, you know, he had a speech impediment, some sort of a speech impediment, and he wasn't confident when he spoke. You understand? The Lord had mercy on him and gave him Aaron to speak for him because of that. But when the Lord first came to Moses, Moses was a little nervous about going to the people because they didn't think the people would believe that the Most High sent them. And Moses said this to the They ain't gonna believe me. They ain't gonna listen to me. They're gonna say the Lord ain't send you. Second verse. And the Lord said unto him, what is it in thine hand? And he said, a rod. And he said, cast it onto the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. So Moses had a staff in his hand, and the Lord told him, put it on the ground, and he did. And the Lord made this staff become a serpent right in front of the eyes of Moses, man. Right in front of the eyes of Moses. So much, the next line says, and Moses fled from before it. Moses hauled ass. Imagine you put a stick down and it turned to a snake, a venomous snake. You get the hell out of there if you don't understand. You understand? Moses ran. Fourth verse. And the Lord said unto Moses, put forth now thy hand. The Lord called Moses. Moses, come here, man. Where you going? Put forth your hand and take it by the tail. He told him, take that serpent by the tail, man. And he put forth his hand and caught it. So Moses put forth his hand like the Lord said and grabbed it by the tail. And it became a rod in his hand. The serpent became a rod just like he had in the beginning. Fifth verse, that they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has appeared unto thee. 6. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. Now you got to listen carefully. When Moses put his hand in his garment, in his chest, in his bosom, like the Lord told him, he took his hand out It said his hand was leprous as snow, meaning what? Moses had the hand of a white man. It lacked the melanin. You could see forth through his skin. You understand? He had the hand of Donald Trump. He had the hand of Joe Biden. You understand? He had the hand of any Edomite or Caucasian in America. His hand was white, leprous as snow. 7th verse. And he said, put thine hand into thy bosom. So the Lord said, now put your hand back into your bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. As his other flesh. So when Moses took his hand back out, it turned white. He had the hand of a white man. Then the Lord said, put it back in your chest. When he took it back out, it had returned back to its normal flesh, which was brown. Moses in Egypt was one of those slaves, and he was a brown man. Guess what? So was Aaron. So was Miriam, and I'm going to prove that in a second. So was all the Israelites or the Hebrews or the Jews in Egypt. The original OG slaves in Egypt, they were a race or nation of brown people, not white people, like Jewish white people are beginning to claim. That was not them in ancient Egypt in slavery. These were brown people. These were those same Jews that descended from Jacob. You understand? That descended from Jacob. These were black people. Numbers 12 and 1. Numbers 12 and 1. I'm going to show you that Miriam was not a white person either. This is Moses' sister. His sister. Numbers 12 and 1. And Miriam, Salaki, let me pull it up in my Bible. Give me 1 second. All right, Numbers. No sweat. Numbers 12 and 1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And Miriam and Aaron knew that was not Israelite culture. Moses, that was not Israelite culture, all the way from Adam, all the way to Seth, down to Noah. Down to Noah, to Shem, and all of their descendants, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was taught to marry within our bloodline, within our family. But Moses took a Hamite woman. The Hamite that we read earlier, the father of the Africans, Moses married one of them, had sex with one of them. And Aaron and Miriam began to check him. They spake against him. 2nd verse. And they said, have the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? They was trying to diminish the power of Moses because he did this error. He did this thing that wasn't our culture. So they were trying to say, well, he ain't that great. Reading on. Have he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. And the Lord heard it. Miriam and Aaron tried to say, Moses ain't the only one with power. Look, he got an Ethiopian woman, man. And that's against our culture. People should listen to us too. They ain't got to just listen to Moses. And the Lord heard it, man. And the Lord heard it. Because I don't care what mistake a prophet of God make, even if he make a mistake, even if he error. Prophet of God is still human. You understand? Still human, a real prophet of God. But a prophet of God is still a prophet of God. And you better watch your goddamn mouth against a prophet of God. Aaron and Miriam had to learn this. They spoke against Moses, and the Lord heard it and took aught with it, man. 3rd verse. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men that were upon the face of the earth. Like, once again, he had some kind of speech impediment. He wasn't confident. He was a meek man. He wasn't aggressive. You understand? And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, all 3 of them. And he said, come out ye 3 unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they 3 came out. So they came out, 5th verse. And the Lord came down in a pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam. And they both came forth. 6th verse. 6th verse. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet, Slocky, I'm gonna jump down a little bit. I'm gonna jump down to 15. I'm gonna jump down to the 15th verse. So y'all see what's happening so far. Jumping down to the 15th verse. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go up some. Matter of fact, I'm gonna keep reading. Salaki, I gotta read the whole thing. Come on. 6th verse again, Numbers 12 and 6. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a vision. Meaning he was checking Miriam and Aaron, saying, you talking about they ain't got to listen to Moses. They should listen to you. You ain't no prophets. If I chose you to be prophet, you would know. Everybody would know. You understand that I chose you. I would come to you in a vision, but I didn't come to you. So what the hell you talking about? Watch your damn mouth. 7th verse. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently. So normally the Lord said, if he come to a prophet, he could just send a vision to a prophet. And that prophet would go say this vision, and the vision would come true, and everybody would know he a vision. But he ain't even do that with Miriam and Aaron. He didn't even do that with Moses. He went deeper and spoke to Moses mouth to mouth. Mouth to mouth. And they had a nerve to open their mouth against Moses, even apparently, and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. He shall see the similitude of the Lord, meaning the Lord will stand before him as an angel, as a man, you understand, and talk mouth to mouth with Moses. Wherefore, then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle. And behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. So Moses' sister, when that cloud left, when the Lord left, they looked at Miriam, and she looked just like Joe Biden's wife. Joe Biden's wife. She was looking like a white woman, just like Donald Trump wife, or Ivanka, or whatever her name, Bianca, whatever her damn name is. Miriam, Moses' sister, was looking like a white woman. You understand? Leprous as snow. And Aaron looked upon his sister Miriam. He looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. He saw she was a whole white woman. You understand? It said, and Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us. Aaron started to give Moses his respect and begged Moses to forgive them and forgive their mouth. Forgive their fresh ass mouth against Moses. Don't have no fresh mouth against a prophet, or the Lord will see you for it, or he'll see you for it. So Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, I beg you, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead. As one dead. That's what that leprosy is. That's what that pigment, the so-called white people got. According to the Bible, that's like being a corpse. That's like being one that's dead. All the nations of the earth has hue, have some type of pigment in them, or different shades of brown, except this Edomite, except the children of Edom, the children of Esau. You understand? It says, let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb, like a stillborn baby. Like the blood ain't, just looking like a dead thing. 12th verse. 13th verse. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, because Moses loved this sister and he loved his brother. You know what I'm saying? He said to the Lord, he cried out and said, heal her now, O power. I beg thee, I beseech thee. Heal her now. 14th verse. And the Lord said unto Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? The Lord was saying her father should have been harder on her for that fresh ass mouth that she had. Her father should have spit in her face, because that's the law in Israel. When you got a daughter that's coming up unruly, sometimes they say you got to spit in her face, man, to shame her. To shame her. That's the law. so that our daughters can grow up with some respect and some shame and not be fresh at the damn mouth. Well, I'll obey a man, but only if he do this, only if he do that. Shut your damn mouth. Lord ain't asked you to tell you to obey a man if he do this, if he do that. He said obey a man if you give that vagina to him. If you give that vagina to him, obey him. If he's your father, obey him. If you don't have a father or a husband that you're giving that vagina to, then obey the priests of Israel. But men are always in charge. You understand? So watch your fresh mouths. You understand? The Lord said she would have been ashamed for 7 days, man. She would have been ashamed. Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days. And after that, let her be received again. Meaning put her outside of the nation, you understand? And after a time, she can come back and she won't have that leprous that's making y'all bug out. 15th verse. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days. And the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. So they didn't leave. They didn't go anywhere else until Miriam came back into the nation. 16. And afterward, the people removed from Hezbollah. So they left and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. So once Miriam returned, looking like her normal brown self, because for her to turn white had to be different from how she started. So Miriam was a black woman. Miriam was a black woman also, the Moses of Aaron. The sister of Aaron, the sister of Moses. You understand? Moses and all the Israelites of Egypt, they were black people. Let me show you something else in history. Once again, the earth shall help the woman. Let me show you this. Let me get this. Bear with me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. All right. Check this out. Check this out. Oh, Stocky. Let me gotta share the screen again. All right, here we go. Here we go. Y'all see this, right? Y'all see this? Once again, the Israelite School of UPK. We didn't make this. We didn't draw this. This was a drawing. This is the records from a drawing many years ago about a slave beating. A slave beating, man, in Egypt. In Egypt. Why did they paint them brown when they did this? Why did they do that? Because like Moses was brown, like Miriam was brown, all of the children of Israel was brown. All of the Jews that were slaves in ancient Egypt were brown. They were brown, man. Ain't no denying that. We got the records. What else you want? We got the records in the Bible and outside the Bible. And outside the Bible, man. Ain't no denying that. Check this one out. Check this one out. Look at this. These are Israelites in slavery in Egypt, man. Why are they different shades of brown? Why are they praying with their hands up like the scriptures tell the Israelites to do? You understand? They're brown because the Israelites in Egypt were brown. Even the Egyptians were brown. So it doesn't make any, so nobody in the slave master, nor the slaves were white people in Egypt. They were all brown people, man. So there's no way, like the guy said in the clip on the movie, Jewish people are not the OG original slaves in Egypt. They are not. And black people should not believe it. And they should not fall for it, man. They are not the slaves in Egypt. Let me show you one more. Let me show you one more. Check this one out. Get one more. What's that caption say? This is a figurine from Egypt of a Semitic slave. A Semitic slave. Now, how could black people be anti-Semitic when they were the Semitic slaves in Egypt? ISUPK didn't make this figurine. This is a figurine made off of the history from scholars who study history. They made a figurine of a Semitic slave. Now, this is a black man. You see that head, that skin, that hair? This is the black man, obviously, a slave in Egypt, and it says he's Semitic. So now I'm going to declare this. Anybody who's anti-black people is anti-Semitic. Anybody who's anti-black people are anti-Semitic, because history and the Bible proves that the slaves in Egypt were Semitic slaves, and they were black people, man. What else you want from me? I'm just teaching history. I ain't trying to offend nobody. If you believe that, you'll believe God, because he got the records in the Bible. He put those records in the Bible about Moses being black, Miriam being black. He put them in the Bible. The ISUPK didn't make this up. You understand? And right, you in Black History Month, right, Kazak? Kazak Wana? We in Black History Month. Nobody talks about this but the ISUPK. Nobody talks about this, man. You understand? This is a figurine of from Egypt of a Semitic slave. We are the Semites, man. Imposters have stolen our culture and have lied about our culture. I ain't gonna say who it is, but a lot of them got the same last name. That's all I'll say. You understand? That's all I'm gonna go with it. You understand? Now let me quickly read on. Let me quickly go on. Got the Egyptian pic. I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy 28:68. So I ain't got a lot of time. Now y'all remember, right? I just read where Jacob and 70 souls, they walked into Egypt, right? I'm gonna read the prophecy from Moses about the Israelites. Deuteronomy 26:68. Let me see. Oh man, let me pull it up on my Bible. Bear with me 2 seconds. Got it. Here we go. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 68th verse reads, and the Lord, and this is Moses speaking to the Israelite by orders of God. And he said, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. Why is that very important in this Bible? Egypt again. Why did it say again? And I'm going to read on. With ships. With ships. So this Moses is telling the Israelites, the Jews, that they would go into Egypt for a second time with ships. When is the first time the Jews went into Egypt? Back with Jacob and 70 souls. That time we walked into Egypt. Egypt, when you look up the definition of the word, means slavery or bondage. It means bondage or slavery. So when the first time we went into Egypt, the Jews walked into Egypt and they were black. I just proved it. Now this said, we're going to go into Egypt again, a second time, but this time with ships. What ships is it talking about? The cargo slave ships that Babylon to Timbuktu talked about. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves, man. That's what it's talking about. And they were black also. You putting it together now? In Egypt, there were black slaves called Jews, called Hebrews, called the 12 tribes of Israel. And the same people that were put on boats, they also were black Jews, the 12 tribes of Israel on those slave ships, man. They also were Hebrews on those slave ships. Finishing the scripture, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again, a second time, with ships this time, not walking, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, talking about our homeland. We wasn't going to see that no more. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. This is the word of God. I ain't saying who our enemies are. I'm not telling you that, you know, who the enemies are of black people. It said we would go into bondage. It said we will be sold unto our enemies. I know that the slaves were sold to white people, but I'm not going to say white people are our enemies. Not right now. I'm trying to be professional. But I am saying that God said whoever we be sold to was our enemy. That's what God said. And ye shall be sold unto your enemies. For bondmen, that's a male slave, and bondwomen, that's a female slave. And no man shall buy you. Buy is old Quaker English for help. Nobody would be able to take us out of the hands of this man. No man, nobody, no nation, no country has the power to take us out of the hands of our oppressor here in America. You understand? That's what that is, future prophecy of that. Now, I'm not saying that white people are the enemies of black people. I'm not trying to start no race war. I'm trying to be professional. What I'm saying is God said that when we got on them slave ships, we would be sold to our enemies. That is what I'm saying. And we would be sold to our enemies as slave men and slave women. Sold to Mr. Jenkins in Kentucky. Sold to Mr. Hyatt in Missouri. Who were we sold to? I'm gonna leave that for you to check it out. Check out who we were sold to and who the enemies of our people are. That's up to you. You understand? Now I'm gonna jump down real quick to Matthew 28 and 48. Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, more prophecy from Black Moses, who was teaching the Black Jews who were the original OG slaves in Egypt. This is what else he said to them. Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore, thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst. Meaning these enemies that the Lord was going to send against the Jews, who are brown people, just like Moses was brown. This is future prophecy. When these enemies would come against us, we would have to go to them whenever we're hungry. Meaning any food that we get today, we got to go to our enemies. Anytime we thirsty, we got to get drink from our enemies. We don't have any more farms. And it says in hunger and thirst and in nakedness. Anytime we want to get some clothes, we got to go to our enemies, according to God, according to this Bible. Them war boots we wear in the ISUPK, these garments we wear, all the material, all the colors, all the different things we get from our enemy. We get from our enemies, man. We have to buy these from our enemies because we don't own any manufacturing plants. Blacks and Hispanics and North American Indians, we don't own manufacturing plants, and we don't have manufacturing industries. So no matter where we getting them from heathens. We getting them from our oppressor. You understand? It reads on in Deuteronomy 28 and 48. And in nakedness and in the want of all things, everything we need or want or have in this kingdom in America, we have to get from the people that are in charge, who God is calling right here our enemies. I'm not saying they are enemies, but God is saying they're our enemies. You understand? And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. Whoever this person is that God called our enemies, he will put a yoke of iron on our neck. Now, after this, I'm going to go back and research and see what nation or race of people put yokes of iron on black people's neck. And maybe that'll tell me who God is calling our enemies. I'm not sure. Maybe that'll tell me. Yoke of iron upon our neck until he have destroyed thee. Until he have destroyed thee. You understand? That's what God said in the Bible. That's prophecy. Those are historical, factual records. I'm going to jump down. To Deuteronomy 28. I'm going to jump up. 28 and 32. Because it was also prophesied that no matter what these people who God is calling our enemies do to us, we would not have any power to stop them. Deuteronomy 28 and 32 says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. And we knew that well in slavery. We got off them slave ships, man. They were selling our kids to each other, selling our children off, and we couldn't do nothing about it. All we did was cry and scream, and watch our children go away. Then they was breeding us to have more children so they could ship them off and make money off them. We was merchandise. We was like the best computer system you could have, and everybody wanted one of them computers. And so they made money because they had the computers. And they were the ones who knew how to build the computers. So they sold the computers to everybody who wanted them, man. Because whoever had these computers got rich. And then they wanted to know, how do I make a computer? Much like the Chinese people do. They want to know all America's technology. That's why they floated that balloon recently. They want to know America's technology so they can duplicate it, so they can get this money just like America get money. And we was just money to the Africans. We was just money to the people that sold us as slaves and put us in bondage. It says, it'll be given to another, and thine eye shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand. So we will be too weak. We will be too weak to fight them. We will be too weak to stop them. We have no power. It's 2023. And unless white people decide to press charges and to pursue a police for murdering us, it won't happen. It won't happen unless white people are outraged, white people with power, with enough power to do something about it, unless they are outraged and offended at a police officer murdering us in America. They take it to trial and see what they could do. But I followed the procedures in my training. I did what I was trained to do. That's even what one of them are saying now. One of them cops are defending, saying, listen, I did what I was trained to do, trying to make an arrest. That same officer, he's the one named Haley. They say also 2 years ago, that Haley, who helped murder Tyre Nichols, 2 years ago, he watched another officer rip a black woman out the car and dislocate her damn shoulder and break her arm. And he never put it in the report that she was assaulted. Never. And they say that same nooker, that same black cop, sellout, traitor, took pictures of Tyre Nichols, man, while he laid on that car bleeding and beat half to death, hardly breathing. He took pictures with his cell phone that night. You can see it on the video. I didn't know he was doing it until it came out. He took pictures of Tyre Nichols and sent it to about 5 people, including a couple of other officers, man. Proud of it, bragging, would show that whole crew of black cops was used to terrorizing and beating black people to a pulp. And they felt no way about it, man. They felt no way about it at all. And that's what the Lord going to deal with them, man. I pray the Lord have mercy on their souls, man, because they are brothers. I pray the Lord have mercy on them, but it is not good to be them. It will not be good to be them. So we over the time. The water, y'all, for hanging in there a few minutes, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Listen, I'll see y'all next week. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. We're going to get it in. Most High in Christ. The water again. Shalom.